This is the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. Joining me as always, halfway across the world, is Jared Morgan.
Hello, everyone. How you going?
Hello, everybody, indeed. Hey, quick thank you to everybody that tuned in to our interview with Mel. Real quickly, just in the short time that it's been up, it's one of the more viewed videos that we've ever had in such a short period of time. So thank you so much if you definitely enjoyed watching that. Give us a heads up, and I hate doing this, the call to action, but here it goes. Like and subscribe. We actually, you know what, as our subscribers, Jared, typically about 60% of the viewers are subscribers, so we actually have a pretty high number
It is
that
pretty
do that.
good.
Yeah, so
Yeah, people like to hear us rambling on about stuff.
yes, my thing is we are getting dangerously close to hitting our 1,000 subscriber mark, and I would very much like to hit that in this year. We only need about 150 more subscribers, so
150 more seems attainable, even though we are a very, very niche topic area.
we are, and I mean our growth has been very organic over the years. It's very slow,
been.
but I think that's why our viewership numbers are the way they are, because it wasn't just flash in the pan. Yeah, I'll subscribe to that and never watch it again, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah. So again, big thank you to everybody for that. All right, Jared, you were teasing me with this earlier. Hit me with what just arrived this week.
Yeah, so before the show, I was telling Chris that I now have 2 new pinball machines in the garage, and they're not Gottlieb's. So
What?
I managed to get... What? Yeah, so I managed to get 2... still sticking well and truly in that early solid state era, which is I just seem to like them, so I'm not going to deny myself anymore. That's the era that I like, and that's the era that I'm going to keep on collecting if I do. So the games I got were Bally's Lost World and a Williams Pokerino. So these are 2 Pokerino is 1978 by Williams, so it's like, I think Williams was a little bit further ahead than Bally when they were doing their move over to
And
solid
both of
state.
them
And I
were
think,
faster than Gottlieb. Gottlieb
oh
held out to the
yes,
bitter end.
they really were. Like Gottlieb were like 2 years behind that. Like the first System 80s or like System 1s, which were using the Spider chip, Gottlieb were that Genie era, and I think that was 1979.
Yeah.
So they were a little bit behind the 8 ball there. Williams and Belly were innovating much earlier. So this Pokerino is 1978, and it's an oddly card themed game. It's got women dressed in card costumes on the backglass. It's such a weird look to it. Strange looking game. It's also it's like, you look at it, it's a massive square playfield, this thing.
Yeah.
Like, it is just a big square, and it's really open at the bottom. Like, you don't really have much to shoot at all at the bottom. It's all up the back. It's got this really innovative, well, for the era probably innovative Newton ball sort of thing, where you got a stack of 3 balls in this captured area, and they go around a loop and trigger a star rollover, and their little pin sticks up and stops them. And then you can shoot another one. It depends. It says how many Newton balls you need to kick up there to complete the card hand, and it will then hold them there until they're all done, then drop them, and they will release back down again. So I've never seen that before in a game. That's pretty cool. And it's got a spinner, and it's got a reasonable amount of drop targets. It's got 3 banks of drop targets, but they're like 2 banks of 2 drop targets and 1 bank of 5.
I love how we're
But it's
excited
like-
by a spinner, because that's the first thing that gets dropped in pro models.
Yeah, like this was like a spinner. Whenever you look at one of these games, I found, it's particularly on the Belly and Williams of this era, it's like, if you see a spinner, you also have a look to see if it's got a 1,000 point modifier on it, and you go, all right, how do I light that? Because honestly, that's where your points are in these games.
Yeah.
It's like spinner with a spinner multiplier on it. It's great.
So is it I mean, square playfield, which means it's, slow motion ball. Um,
Oh, very slow motion play.
especially if you actually put it at the 3% tilt grade that they're usually
Rake.
recommended for. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It,
How's
it's
the condition?
Oh, look, it is. I'm going to have to do. Look, pretty much all of the primary inserts are cupped and
Lovely.
loose.
Nice.
So I'm going to have to, like, either gently coax them back into not cupped, and then actually re-glue them in. So I'm pretty sure that eventually I'm going to have to do a playfield strip on this. It's also got very, very poorly applied book contact to the playfield. It's not a mylar. It's definitely book contact because there's two distinct panels of contact on there with a void between them. So it's lovely. Uh, yeah, I'm going to have to do some work on this to bring it up to. It's look, you can play it now. It's playable.
Okay.
The ball rolls around on it. You can hit things. One of the pop bumpers is completely floating loose. It's just flopping around. So
I
I'm going
love
to
it.
have to
Yeah.
tighten that up. Put
Great.
some matchsticks in there or whatever. But it is playable. The flippers need to be shopped. They're pretty weak, but overall you can flip it, which is more than I can say for Lost World. uh, Lost World, unfortunately, was sold as a working game, arrived DOA with a probably I think it's a logic board fault on it. It wouldn't boot to game over mode. So we're definitely looking at a new logic board. But honestly, when you're messing around with this era of Belly, you just junk the boards, and you can they are repairable. You can repair them, but then it's whack-a-mole.
Well, that's what
As you know,
when I got 8-Ball Deluxe, the first thing everybody was saying to do was, oh, you got to repin all your connectors, and it was
yeah,
like, what? They were like, oh yeah, you got to change everything out to Molex. That's the very first thing you need to do on these. That'll solve 99% of your problems. It didn't solve 99% of them, but it probably solved 90% of them.
yeah,
And then the boards were the other 10%. But yeah,
yep.
yay, Bally.
Yeah, Belly. So yeah, definitely you're spot on with the connectors. That's what I've been told by my my not my resident tech, but the tech I use all the time to do my Gottliebs. He goes, yeah, expect to be replacing a lot of header pins on the boards and connectors because they just cactus.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to be going with a whole set of boards, probably all tech. I think Tangle's tech down here in Australia have their own Australian-made set of boards, but they don't have solutions for all the different boards that are in the back of the head. So
Oh yeah.
might just go for an old tech solution, which is all in one. You can even get a brand new rectifier board as well. So it's interesting to see how Belly do their rectification versus Gottlieb. So Belly, as you know, anyone who's had a look inside the head of a Belly will see there's this one teeny tiny little circuit board with all of the high voltage conversion done on it. And you've got to tap wires from the transformer directly into this board. So you're taking transformer wires and putting the wires through the board and tapping them into all these different spots in the board. That's the hardest bit about it, to actually get those right. Because if you screw that up, well, you also have a dead board, a brand new dead board that you've got. So I definitely want to get a new rectifier board as well. I'm just going to get the whole new boards. I'm going to take it over to John Grist. I'm going to say, like, your job's easy. Can you just repin it for me?
Yeah.
I know you can buy repin kits where you just buy the kit and repin it yourself, which might save me some money, but he's got all the right gear there. And I was
going to say there's a difference between saving money and saving headaches.
Yeah, and I don't want the headache. I want this thing to work. And once it's got new boards and a rectifier in it, it's going to absolutely rock on. The playfield on Lost World is actually not too bad. And mechanically, it feels like it's in much better condition than Pokerino, because I've inspected the mechanisms on the playfield, and the only thing I could really spot was a sloppy flipper on the left because one of the links was blown out. So that's an easy fix. But everything else seems to be in reasonable playfield condition. The playfield has a playfield protector over it, like the plastic floaty one, which I hate. So that will probably go eventually. But for now, I just want to get the thing flipping. and then go from there. So I think that's going to be a project for next year. I just need to save up a little bit of money, because the third thing that's happened, Chris,
Mm.
is that all my back glasses have arrived from Italy. So
And
that was an
those aren't
interesting.
cheap.
Those are definitely. You're correct, Chris. These are not
Yeah.
cheap. I'm paying euros for
Mm-hmm.
them in Australian pesos. So there's that, which is about 60 cents to the Australian dollar at the moment. And because I ordered 4, they were 1,250 euro.
Wait, you ordered
Um,
4 backglass?
I did. So I basically got brand new back glasses for my entire fleet, including Lost World.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because Lost World's back glass, the other thing that was wrong with Lost World's back glass was it was unrecoverable.
Yeah,
It
Flaky
was
City.
flaked beyond any hope of recognition.
Yeah.
So it needed to have a brand new one. Like, there was no disputing in that. So I had to get that one added to the order, but I've got a new back glass for Force 2, Timeline, and Pink Panther. And boy, look, they're expensive, but geez, they just look stunning compared to the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
The colors, the art that was missing off them, you don't realize how much art was missing
Yeah.
until you get a new one and put it in. And oh man, it's so expensive. I had to pay, because it was 1,250. That's about, if you add 40% on, we're talking close to $2,000, really.
Yeah.
Australian. So that's well over the 1,000
Oh,
Australian dollar
the VAT
tax-free
tax.
importation limit. So hello to $500 of duty and GST that I had to pay on top of that as well. So it was an expensive exercise, but I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
These are just unobtainium, and you can only get them from Europe. So you pay the man.
Yep.
I guess
You gotta do what you got to do.
Got to do what you got to do. So,
Wow.
but I like seeing them now. I'm going, okay, I've now got a complete machine.
Mhm.
Like, these are now looking more like restored machines with these back glasses.
Yeah.
So yeah, have a look at my Instagram. We've been posting progressive pics on them on there. So if you're interested in what the before and after looks like, have a look. They're pretty stark.
Very good. Yeah, very good indeed.
Mm.
All right, let's shift over to something here. So, in our videos with the Mel interview, particularly the shorter video that was just all about AtGames and that, the comment thread, it got a little interesting.
Oh yeah, it blew up, didn't it?
There were some comments, yes. So I said I would do this if I was proven wrong in one of the comments, and therefore I'm going to do this indeed. So where we were getting a little bit in the weeds happened to be in relations to whether or not the 4K cabinets were advertised, specifically the Addams Family cabinet, because that was the first one, was advertised as being able to play the games in 4K, that the tables included were in 4K. And I was pretty confident that, no, they didn't do that. But if you were able to bring up the original flyer that was released back in September, it did actually indeed state that built-in tables were in 4K, and then there was even a playfield image of Addams Family that said that it was in 4K. So,
right, okay.
Yes, the advertisement at that point did say that. So this is where I was incorrect in the comments that I was making. So I'm owning up to that. I'm able to do that. However, more to what I was saying was that Mel Kirk, Zen Studios in particular, never once stated that these tables were going to be playing in 4K. There was a press release that came out, and we'll get to that in a moment. The press release has quotes from both PK and Mel. Neither one of them said anything about the tables playing in 4K. And instead, what you gather is that the idea of the AtGames Legends Pinball 4K, the 4K is a branding nomenclature. It's saying, because it does have a 4K monitor, as opposed to the AtGames Legends Pinball HD, which does not have a 4K monitor. So what we're really doing is we're stating this to be it's a branding purpose. It's telling you what the monitor on the playfield, what it is capable of. That it was, and so although the argument can be made, well, if you call something 4K, then everything better playing in 4K. I understand that, and I understand why some people would be confused by that. But
yeah, you're right. That is an easy thing to draw a conclusion to,
sure,
isn't it? Like, oh, 4K. Oh, okay. Well, everything's 4K.
But this is advertising. This is what draws you in. Now, if you're not going to read the fine print, if you're not going to read the blurb underneath that tells you more truthful things, that's on you, right? It's the whole buyer beware thing. Is it shady? Debatable. It's being a little slick, sure, but what do you expect them to call this without having to then
how are they going to differentiate between the old and the new? Because the old one was like AtGames Pinball, right?
Yes.
And so it was AtGames Pinball HD. Did they advertise?
No, the HD came out as a rebranding,
as a differentiator.
Same thing as at the same time they came out with the AtGames Mini.
Right.
So, now you have a product line, and it is about differentiating rather than just saying AtGames 2. Because if you say it's AtGames 2, now you're going to have to read the blurb underneath to find out what the 2 is, right? Instead of just calling it AtGames 4K, you automatically know that this is capable of 4K.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess I had to call it something. Naming things is hard, right?
Yes. Now, the channel in question that was questioning us then went on to state something to the effect of, look, if I buy an 8K TV, it can perform in 8K, which was an interesting argument to be made, because yes, you can buy 8K TVs. However, to this day, you cannot buy any 8K media. There is no streaming in 8K. There's no network that broadcasts in 8K. There is no physical media that is in 8K. You can play Xbox and PS5 are capable of 8K gaming. However, whatever they have is very few and far between. Nobody believes it's an actual 8K, because if you play on a PC, nobody's playing those games in 8K because the video card simply cannot handle all the, without dumbing down, turning off a lot of stuff. It ain't going to play in 8K. A lot of these games struggle to be played in 4K. So I found that to be a very interesting thing to bring up, because an 8K TV, again, is simply branding. It is capable of, but it does not mean that it will do. My TV...
It's a resolution specification.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's like it has this many pixels per inch.
Yeah. My TV is a 3D TV that at the time it was advertised as having HDR. It does have HDR. However, it can't play any HDR content, because since it came out, the HDR was codified across the board into what is now known as HDR10. And my TV is not able to interpret that information.
It's Betamax versus VHS all over again.
Right?
Standards change.
So my TV was hey, yeah, we have it, before a lot of other TVs had it. But then all the streamers, all the content were like, yes, and this is the standard that we're going to be using. And my TV went, oh, I don't meet that standard. It's still HDR. It's still HDR capable. And to be fair, if I use Amazon, I can actually stream things in HDR over that.
All right.
Interestingly enough, I don't know. That's the only place I've ever been able to do it in.
So that's where your content comes from for that particular thing that you're talking about.
Yes, right? I haven't even tried it in a while because it was terrible. The buffering on it was absurd.
Oh, it would have been horrible.
It was horrible, unwatchable for the most part. So, now
because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly, right? Those of content creators that use the space to comment on gaming news, we should have a better sense of comprehension, folks. We should be able to read through what is merely a statement for hype and what is actual truth. We should be able to be critical about this and understand who is doing the announcing and are those credible sources. And I think Jared and I can agree on this. Influencers are exactly that. They're meant to influence. They're not out there to read a press release and immediately go, well, that's not going to fly. No, they're going to hype it up. They're going to, they're being a vocal mouthpiece for marketing without
because they're being paid or getting some sort of kickback normally.
Without it being official, so that anything that they say, if it is incorrect, the actual company can go, no, we didn't say that. That was them. And truth be told, there are some influencers out there that purposely exaggerate or expound upon information purely so that they can have their content be different than the other 5 channels that were all given the exact same press release to read. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because, what's more boring than hearing the same thing repeated from a press release 5 times over?
Right?
Yeah. No one's going to watch that.
No. And I think that in any industry, announcement claims are often walked back from the initial announcement to what actually gets, all these things prior to release. In the case of Addams Family, soon after the announcement, the press release or the flyer wound up getting changed to reflect.
Right.
So I'm going to say that Zen probably read it and was like, no,
nope.
We're not actually doing 4K gaming. I think where it really became to a head was when it went to the, I don't know if it was the Texas Gaming Show. It was some gaming show, and they had the cabinets out there, and the 1 or 2 people that were allowed, the influencers that were allowed to play it, were like, oh, the lag on this is bad. Like, it was really bad. And I think that's where it was, hey, we're going to make our corrections here. Now, it's something to be noted because people are like, it's a class action lawsuit waiting to be happen. No, because prior to AtGames shipping anything, they offer, are you sure that you want to buy this? And if you don't, you can cancel the order.
Right. So this was after all the adjustments to the wording and the pitch of the product were made publicly.
Right. So even up until, because they didn't ship until January. So there was plenty of time in the interim to cancel the order. And so by that point, the information had been corrected.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's take a quick look at the actual press release. I have it actually. Play that. Yeah, here we go. Here's the actual press release that was the pre-release. You can see it was released on September 15th of 2023. And it just kind of runs through, who they are, what's going to be on it with Addams Family, what the list price is, yada, yada, yada. But down here at the bottom, we have this quote from PK that says, we are very excited to announce our new Legends 4K pinball machines and their premium features for an authentic experience. PK goes on to say, we'd also like to thank Zen Studios for bringing their iconic virtual pinball tables to our new exciting Legends 4K platform. 4K platform, right? The addition of Zen's pinball tables is a game changer for our community and platform, as we're now able to provide them with ongoing access to the top pinball tables and iconic brands. So again, I think that right there it's being established that this is a platform. Then Mel states, Zen Studios is always looking for best-in-class partners to help bring our iconic virtual pinball tables in new, exciting ways. Placing them in the 4K digital pinball space that AtGames has created is an exciting blend of nostalgia and innovation. We look forward to seeing our fans' reaction to this exceptionally engaging platform.
So the 4K digital pinball space, not
yes,
that's the space.
Yes,
that's the brand name of the space, right?
Correct.
Is that what I'm reading into here?
That's basically what you're reading into. Nowhere
Right.
in that press statement does it state from either of them that they were bringing these tables in 4K onto this machine. Instead, where that came from was the influencers trying to make bold statements, being the first of their kind to state such things. I think we as content creators in general, and this is not just influencers, but this is anybody that is on this space, you know, we're not privy. I mean, we can make all the assumptions that we want of what we think went on behind the scenes, and the argument was, oh, do you actually think that Zen didn't promise 4K to AtGames? I have no idea. I personally don't believe that's the case because Zen is well aware of what they're able to provide. They already did it with Arcade 1-Up, where they did have to release the tables in 720 because that was the screen that Arcade 1-Up was providing, even though at the time Mel said we could have done it in 1080 if we had the proper chips.
Hardware. And chips, and I mean, I raised concerns when I saw the spec way back when the 4KP.
You did indeed, Jared. You raised those in episode 266. And if you want to watch it for yourself, go back, watch. Episode 266 at the 12:54 mark, Jared literally reads the press release and then immediately questions whether it would be possible.
It's even, because it's like the platform that they're using. I mean, go and watch the episode if you really care, but it's a rock chip platform and it's managing three screens, and it's a rock chip platform, folks.
Which the way you explained to me, that's a mobile platform.
Yeah, it is.
It's a mobile chip.
It's a mobile chip, and it's an underpowered mobile chip. It's not a Snapdragon series, which is like the one where most modern flagship mobile phones are using. Rock chip is like the stuff you see in embedded media controllers and stuff like that. So, look, I do really question. I was skeptical back then.
Yeah.
4K was, while the specification for the board did say yes, it is capable of outputting 4K. That's a very different situation to what you're actually getting the board to do under load, and the build that you're giving it to actually run on.
Correct.
So it's I don't know how they're actually doing what they're doing now on it, to be honest. It's staggering to see what they're able to do with that board specification.
So apparently nobody was questioning whether it could play in 4K. So we're nobody, Jared. But that's a broad statement, and I think that again is where you need to tone back your hyperbole, because there was people at the time of the press release, Jared and myself, going, no, probably not. And again, that's just us speculating, much like other people were speculating the opposite direction. But do we know in fact what the negotiations between Zen and AtGames were? No, we do not. No. Why would we? We are not Zen Studios employees. None of us are that are in this space. Shoot, even Zen Studios employees don't often know these things because I've questioned them before and they go, huh? I don't know.
If they're not working on the project, they're not told because they don't need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'll also state that in the case of AtGames and Zen, AtGames is entirely responsible for the marketing and sales while Zen provides the software.
And that's all they're doing. They just provide the builds and AtGames spins it the way they want.
Exactly. Okay? So nobody's being thrown under a bus. It's just simply stating the facts of this is where information comes from. And there are plenty of marketing departments that also don't quite read the specs, and they put their assumptions out. And if somebody's not proofreading what they're putting out, well, that's on them. But this is kind of funny to me. All you have to do is look at what happened to Mattel and their series of dolls for Wicked. I don't know if you're aware of this one, Jared.
No, tell me about it.
On the back of the box, they have a website for you to go visit.
Oh, it's the one that
and it says
site.
wicked.com. Wicked is an adult entertainment company that's been around for years and has had that website for
Domain for a while.
years. Yeah, somebody done screwed up and didn't realize that they had to put a dash movie onto it. Yeah, that was a major whoops. Somebody didn't proofread, and that's for Mattel.
Yeah. So, marketing departments, their job is to make money.
Yes.
And sell things, right? So
yes.
they're going to do whatever they need to do to make that happen, because they get measured on KPIs as to how much their marketing efforts contribute to sales. So, yeah. I don't know.
Now, let's go back into just critical thinking and what Jared had been saying with the board. If a similar, I'm not saying the board that Arcade 1-Up used is similar, but it was also a mobile platform video board. These boards, if you look on the inside of they're tiny. They're nothing major, right? You whip out an RTX 4060, which is the base model video card that's out there.
Much bigger.
Much, much bigger. 2 fans, heat sinks, and that's just the GPU. That's all it is, right? So why would you... And the 4060 is what I can run OTG in on the computer that I have that's plugged into my AtGames.
Yeah.
It can play in 4K, but you feel the lag. So I play in 2K.
Yeah.
I can still feel some lag, but it's very playable. It's not an issue. It doesn't bother me in the least. The only thing I don't play
gaming is hard.
Yeah, and the only thing I don't play with, I don't do the ray tracing, because again, I put it on, and I didn't notice
it wasn't visually different enough for you to not perceive the benefit of it.
Exactly, not for the sacrifices that instead I was witnessing.
HDR looks great. Ray tracing, you get some pretty light trails in some of the graphics.
So the statement was made that, hey, playing in 4K for pinball players that's huge. That's paramount. No, it wouldn't be paramount. Paramount is being able to play in 60 frames per second and having no lag. That's what's paramount.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's what everyone's talking about on, most of the time, the perceived issues of lag and gameplay come down to your frame rate's too high.
Yeah.
Drop your frame rate down to lower, and then you'll get much smoother gameplay. So, yeah, that seems to be the common theme, that people prioritize more when playing pinball. It's smoothness of the ball, because that's essentially the primary gameplay. It's the ball movement on the playfield and how it interacts with your flippers.
So again, it just comes back to, what kind of miracles were you expecting to have pulled off on what is essentially a mobile platform for something that's going to be pumping out to a 4K 32-inch screen plus 2 more screens that are, one of them which is playing video and DMD. The other one is just pretty much passive, which is your main backglass. But still,
that's a lot of things to drive.
That's a lot of things to drive. To the point that
if you're doing that on a PC, you need a grunty card to do that.
Even on the PC, in order for the controls to not just randomly give out and stop working for a couple of flips, I had to get a powered USB.
Right.
That was... this is what I'm saying. Beefy PC.
There's nothing left on the board.
I still need to add things into it, to power this through. Expecting what is in one of these to handle this? Come on. I mean, you're just deluding yourself. I don't care.
I say this, what they've been able to do with that platform is incredible.
Absolutely.
I don't know how they've done it, but
certainly corners have to be cut, right? Some of those corners have to deal with the lighting that is used, whether the text is all razor sharp, whether there's any aliasing and curves. Those might have to be sacrificed. In terms of Zen, my argument, from what I witnessed, it seems like there might be a few fewer pixels being used. If you say, or not pixels, polygons. If you save on the polygons, you save on a lot. Now, where it's plain obvious is if you look at the Gottlieb tables that are on there that Farsight pumped out, they are definitely 100% using the mobile port that they used for the tablets compared to what they used DirectX 11. Uh, because if you look at their round shapes, they're octagonal a lot of time. It's like lots of straight lines, and you can see them.
I remember that.
You know,
boy, the amount of jaggies.
Well, because they told us back in the day,
bad.
they told us back in the day that in order to make it playable, they had to cut polygons. They had to cut remember the whole audio discussion that went on? There were some severe corners to be cut. You know,
they had to slice off every part that they went, okay, well, if we want frame rates to remain at a playable limit, then this has to go, that has to go. See you later, that thing.
Which again,
because its frame rate is a key.
Yeah, and again, if you're looking at it on a much smaller monitor, if you're looking at it on a 12-inch tablet or smaller, it's not going to be as noticeable. You blow that up to a 32-inch monitor, it's going to be noticeable.
You're going to notice hexagonal round things,
right?
You know?
The other thing is that, look, I can watch a show in 4K resolution on Amazon. However, it actually isn't always the best presentation. Based off of the streaming and the buffering that goes on in that. Whenever I would try and watch in 4K, 9 times out of 10, about every 2 or 3 minutes, I would see the resolution of the screen go and go Pixel City until it buffered enough and all of a sudden it'd pop back up. That gets really...
It's variable bit rate when they stream, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that gets exceedingly annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing the quality go up and down, up and down, up and down. Anybody that watched the Tyson Logan Paul fight knows this. Because I don't know if you witnessed it, Jared.
No.
It was bad.
Choppy.
Choppy. Beyond choppy.
Yeah.
And it was knocking down to sub 480 was standard 480p. Definition. It was going below that. It was like big blotchy blocks. Completely unreadable text.
Minecraft resolution.
Oh, it was nasty. And then sometimes you just get the spooling bar, and you didn't know how long you were going to get the spooling bar for.
Which, in something like a boxing match is not what you really want. Well,
fortunately, you would pick up exactly where you left off, so it wasn't you missed stuff. But it'd be like mid punch, spooling.
Buffering.
Buffer City. And so what I would wind up doing to fight that when I would be streaming off Amazon, it's one of the reasons why I don't subscribe to Amazon, because I hate their buffering thing. But I knocked it down to just give it to me in 1080p. I'm fine. My TV is good enough that it does some great upscaling, and I don't even notice the difference for the most part.
No.
But then I had a consistent quality the entire way through, and that becomes less of my focus. And this is what I'm saying in terms of with pinball. So long as I got 60K or 60 frames and no lag
constantly,
then my pinball experience is going to be great. Where the text gets muddled is in the apron or in fine print, but never on the inserts. So again, I'm fine, because how often am I staring at that stuff? Very, very rarely, right? Because while I'm in the moment and I'm playing, that's what's important. That's where the feels are.
For sure.
This is why in our interview I mentioned to Mel the fact that surround sound feedback kit is the deal breaker right there. Having that makes me feel connected to the table, makes the gameplay that much better, and it is why I play the tables natively on the AtGames 4K instead of going OTG. Even though there are aspects of the OTG that are better. And again, we're going to get into that because I've got examples. Last thing, though, I kind of want to say about this, and I think this has kind of always been Jared and I's mission statement, and that's that we will always be truthful with our experiences.
Yeah.
If we're having fun, we're having fun. If we're not, then we're not, and we'll say that. But just because something could be better does not make it unplayable or not worth playing. Would I love to see Zen tables eventually be on par with the amazing presentations that people do in VPX? Absolutely.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I would love pure photorealistic pinball to be played. But are we there yet with Zen? No. Does that make
No.
Zen's product bad? No. It's the same reason why we said back with Farsight when we were playing that. We really enjoyed playing Pinball Arcade. We did say, oh, if Zen ever got a hold of this, the physics would be amazing and the graphics would be better. And then one day Zen got a hold of it and we were like, congratulations, yay. And we looked, and then we'd look back at Farsight and go, hey, now with 2020 vision, we can go, yeah, these were where the problems are.
It was like, well, that was good at the time.
At the time.
But now there's something better.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about that now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also would like to say that we're not always going to be perfect in our analysis, but we're also not going to play ignorant purely for the sake of pleasing any studio.
No.
So we've
been doing this long enough now, for like 10 years, right? We don't placate studios. If there's something wrong with it, we're going to tell them, and they can take it or leave it, because at the end of the day, it is our opinion. It doesn't mean it's correct.
Yeah.
It's just what we think.
We do enjoy our relationship with Zen and Mel. No lies about that. Zen is who actually contacted the Digital Pinball Fans Forum. And we were put into contact with Zen way back before the announcement of the Zen acquiring Williams was. And we've nurtured that relationship since then. Mel's definitely a friend of ours. Ours is not a platform for gotcha style interviews.
No, because that would mean that Mel would not come on our show anymore. Because why would you, if that's the way you run your style of presentation?
Exactly. So, hey, you're free to reach out and try and secure an interview with anyone from Zen. Go for it. Ask the questions that you want to ask. We happen to know that there are certain questions that Mel is not prepared to answer because that's not within the designation of his role at the company. Whenever we get into the weeds on technical specs, he's not the one that's dealing with that. He winds up having to ask his technicians and stuff. So if it's something on the fly that we're going to ask, we tend to avoid those kind of questions, whereas we can get into it on licensing all day because that's primarily what Mel deals with.
You'll see that that's like really the things we're talking to Mel about is the business of pinball.
Yeah.
And not so much content and stuff like that, because like everyone talks about that. Like, we offer an interesting angle from that perspective because we've been doing this for 10 years. We have enough shared and lived experience longer now. But, we have all that experience that we've gathered over the years of talking about commercial digital pinball that, content's great, but like, it's not that interesting to us when we can talk about other stuff that, you just don't hear on other videos. So let's talk about that instead. Do something different.
We also just be clear. We do have NDAs with various studios. When we speculate on behind the scenes goings on, it's just that though. It's speculation. We're not a source for leaks. We're not putting out the truth without it being an official thing. No, we keep our mouth shut about the things that would get us in trouble and force us to violate NDAs. And then we speculate about the things that we know that we can actually speculate without being in trouble for that. Is our speculation grounded in certain amounts of truth? Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. So whether or not you, the viewer, choose to believe the things that come out of myself and Jared's mouth, whether or not you care to believe that we are protecting for I don't know what purpose any individuals, that's not the case. All we're asking is that content creators out there actually use critical thought beyond what is hype or hot takes and actually is founded in how a business would actually function and work. And that's something that we have been doing a very long time. Watch countless of our videos, and you've seen us do exactly that, where it might sound like we're taking the side of the company, but we're purely taking the side in terms of, hey, this is what it takes to function as a studio and keep the doors open. And in this environment, with a lot of studios' doors closing, I think that's fair for us to talk about in that respect.
Commercial realities of commercial digital pinball are a thing. And we prefer to focus on that rather than wild speculation and just, other stuff.
So anyway.
Because it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my retort. As far as I'm concerned, I don't need to say any more on the piece because that's literally all I've had to say. But if you do drop comments at us, I do appreciate if you actually, show your sources. It's not about me doing homework to prove your own point. If I prove a point, I prove a point by actually showing sources and links.
Bring your receipts, folks.
So
we want to see them.
Yeah, don't make me go looking for whatever receipt is that you're looking. And by the way, if you go onto AtGames' website, you will not see anywhere on there stating the fact that games are in 4K. But interestingly enough, let me bring up something here. And that is Wagner's Tech Talk. Wagner actually does work for AtGames now. He went through and was checking the latency of all the tables. And he checked them before the latency patch and then after the latency patch. So just right off the bat, if you look at the top there at Attack from Mars, before the patch it was at 128 milliseconds, and now it's at 87.6 milliseconds. Also, you'll notice that it shows the resolution that these are displayed in. So in the point of Attack from Mars, it's 2240 by 1260, but then look at Galactica, it's 2560 by 1440. So these do vary. In terms of what resolution. They're trying for that 2K mark. Sometimes hitting it, sometimes not. I'm just curious to see what Adam's Family is. Adam's Family, according to this, it is in 2K.
Okay. Proper 2K.
And you look at it, it was at 138 milliseconds, now it's at 94.7 milliseconds. Now, that's pretty good. I think these tables play phenomenal, and I was able to play them just fine, even at the slower latency. And when I say just fine, I'm saying I was actually able to get, with World Cup Soccer, I was number one for quite a few weeks with the score that I posted. So I can get those high scores. Now, if we look over here at the Magic Pixel titles, these are, in fact, in 4K, according to this.
Right, okay. Yes. Yeah, those are 4K. Yeah. Great.
So all the Zaccaria, all the Taito tables, these are all in 4K. You look at these milliseconds, these are all in the 60s, too.
Yeah.
In terms of where they're averaging. What about Seuss is 62, 50, yeah. The Taito games, these are all mid-60s, yeah. So there's your at. Now, is this available on the AtGames website? No, you would have to go to Wagner's Tech Talk and look it up that way. But I did want to
Wagner's done such a good job at doing this legwork here and getting these facts. Like, they are extensive, and the way he's done this is almost kind of scientific. Like he's get like controls, and he has a certain benchmark he's shooting for.
Well, not only that, but he lists how he achieved it and how you at home can achieve it too, if you want to do your to replicate your own. Yeah,
it's really, really. It's like there must have been hours sunk into that. Days, probably.
I'm sure. Yeah. So let's do a little something here, Jared.
Okay.
Mine is not scientific. So what I went ahead and did, because I was very curious, I was like, well, let's see what the difference is visually between what you can get in OTG and what you can get in AtGames on these tables. The South Park tables just came out this past week, and when I'm playing it, I'm amazed at how good they look. They look phenomenal. They're really, really crisp, good, minimal. I mean, like, I wasn't some of the ramps are curved or have curves on them, the habit trails, and I wasn't seeing jaggies or nothing. It was just like, wow, these look great. So what I did was I took a photo using my camera. This is where the non-scientific part comes in, right? Took a photo.
So you use a phone camera to take photos of
a screen. So... We know how taking pictures of a screen is exactly what you want, right? But I don't know how to get screenshots off of this thing. So this is what I did. I took a picture of that, and then I brought up the exact same table in OTG. Took a picture of that. Now the one difference.
So you were showing it. You didn't take these shots on your computer screen. You took them on the AtGames 4KP.
Yes.
Through OTG. So they're using all the same pass-through stuff that's on there.
I play, like I said, I play Pinball Effects in 2K. So technically, if these Ks are, if both of them are in 2K, there's parity within there. The only area where there's a difference is that the AtGames is clearly using the angle 1 version of the screen.
Oh.
And while I wanted to have the exact same table angle used with Pinball Effects, the problem is that a lot of times angle 1, it zooms in more and cuts off the apron. And I wanted to show the apron because that's where the text is. So I would wind up going to view 2 to be able to do this comparison. So where you're going to notice this, I'm going to just bring this up right now.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go.
Oh.
Looking at those two, you can see that just up in the upper right-hand corner, you can't see the little slinky tube.
The slinky tube's
right.
gone.
And that's just purely because angle 1, you would have seen it. Angle 2, it's not seen because things are stretched more. This also plays into, this is what I was asking Mel about with their cabinet views, where the cabinet views are always tilted. They're always keystoned at the top. There's nothing that's ever just purely straight up and down. AtGames, everything's straight up and down, complete overhead. But they've keystoned it correctly, so you're still having a slight angle to be able to see at the table, which definitely helps for those upper rollovers and seeing the insert lights, because a lot of times those are hidden underneath things. So, because like when I play Butters on OTG mode, and I'm in angle 2, I cannot actually see the inserts light up for the lanes at the top in view 2. If I go to view 1, I can see them. So it's just a slight angle tilt that's happening, but in angle 1, again, it cuts off more of the apron. It puts the flippers longer, makes the screen look larger. There's trade-offs that go along. But so anyway, that's why you're seeing what you're seeing here in terms of it not being 1-for-1 perfect. So let's go ahead and
that explains that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and zoom in here a little bit more. So if I were just looking, again, AtGames is on the left, Pinball Effects is on the right. If we're just looking here and looking for differences, you tell me, Jared, visually, does the lighting look the same?
Yep. Yeah. Look, I was going, my eyes were originally initially drawn to the slingshots and the shadows coming out of the slingshots. No, they're there. And then you've got the same. Yeah, all the lighting seems to be the same.
So the only area, I will say this, as a still picture, these look the same. In motion, the lighting is more dynamic with Pinball Effects. There's actual subtleties. It seems like it's flickering a little bit, or there's movement. There feels like there's shadow that actually happens. Whereas the AtGames is more flat and more just like a consistent there, right? When it comes to, now this is where you can tell that I took a picture on a phone. That text there, I can actually read it in the AtGames, and that same text there, just opposite side here, I can go.
Obviously not in these pictures, because
none of these pictures, right? But I can read. I can read both of those texts. You
can put your face close to the glass and actually read that.
Read it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if I look over here at the curve. Now, again, what you're seeing up at that curve, those little jaggies, that's more about the phone resolution being zoomed all in.
Yeah.
Looking at it,
Yeah.
honestly, you don't see it. And so there's where I'm like looking and going, wow, that's really good, right?
All
Now,
right.
I don't know if that also has to do with the fact that this table was developed for Pinball
For
FX2.
mobile. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Pinball Fix 2.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
So, with that
Maybe.
being said, let's flip over to Adam's Family because this is the big one,
Oh.
right?
Right. This is the,
Again,
AAA title for this
if
release.
if I look at these two and I look at the lighting, am I seeing anything vastly, grossly different? Again,
No, in fact, I think even if you have a look at the textures from AtGames on the Chrome, I actually think they look a bit brighter, to be honest.
so this is where there was a actual improvement in the AtGames.
Yeah, like
So before, okay, that looks like it looks Jaggy City right there on the corner. Okay,
yeah,
before it
Oh,
was
yeah.
just a flat gray. There was no.
yeah,
It was just a flat
no
gray.
Chrome.
No chrome. I would rather have the chrome look than the flat gray.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Look, that's really
if I look over
that's
at,
really good.
there's the Pinball FX version.
Yeah. So it's less jaggy on the curves.
Less
but,
jaggy on that particular curve because it's trying to do the chrome effect also. So I think there's
Yeah.
a difference with the Butters table because it was just a powder coated look rather than trying to
It's
do
yellow.
The chrome.
Yeah, they all powder coated
Yeah.
rails. Yeah. But like the
S-
transparent, just look at the okay, just zoom back out and look at the thing ramp exit near the upper left flipper, right?
okay.
Like on the PC version,
If I
it
can,
looks a little cloudy.
if I can get up there.
On the
There we go.
AtGames version, like take a look at it. It's clear. It's like it's better.
I mean, it might
So-
be too clear, but I mean,
maybe,
maybe.
But I mean,
I don't know. It's hard to say.
I mean, I've seen like if you look at some of the really nice brand new ramp kits you can get for this game, they look like that.
Yeah.
So
Where it is obvious, and again, forgive my camera's
the jagginess of this phone,
my
screen
phone
capture.
screen taking. This text here in the apron is very difficult to read in the AtGames version, as opposed to, let's bring it over here. Even in the phone, you can tell that it's a little bit clearer because it's very clear.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So they've made the sacrifices in the right area because
Right.
what are you going to be looking at more? You're going to be looking at the apron, or you're going to be looking at the bits in the playfield. It's the playfield all day.
now let's look at the
So-
one that was the most egregious of problems prior to the fix and post fix. It is
was it this
it was
one?
100% this. Now the coloring was
Right.
way wrong on AtGames prior. I was actually
Right.
quite surprised then to put these side by side and go, well, that coloring looks virtually the same. You can see some shadow detail, especially in the cannons, gets lost in the AtGames version.
Yes, they're very bright. It looks like the table has a very, very strong ceiling light shining down on it.
Yeah.
It's like from multiple angles, so there's no shadows.
But
Like,
otherwise, the purple, previously, the purple on the AtGames was significantly blown out. Like it was way
Oh,
more.
was it?
And now it's matches color-wise. This is also a super pin, so it's a wide body.
Yep.
So the lines of your habit trails are much thinner. So
because they have to zoom out so much.
they have to zoom out so much. So previous to the lag fix, this up here, this curve of the habit trail, was a janky mess. It was
Just jaggy as heck.
jaggy as all get out. And you can tell not much chrome going on here, right? This is kind of what
No,
this is
not
what
on that
the
curve.
yeah, this is
It's flat.
what Adam's Family previous looked like. So not really
I
chromed
mean,
out.
that's not even that bad,
No.
honestly.
But if we look
but-
at I barely have the curve here, but you can see where they did the more chrome look.
The shadowing.
Yeah, but
yeah.
if we go over here, again, the lines are thinner, so the jaggies are going to be a little bit more apparent.
Oh yeah.
So that's
The thinner
on
the things are.
that's
the
Pinball
more jaggies they
Effects,
get.
and this is AtGames right there. So you can see how much significantly it's more pronounced on the AtGames.
It is definitely, yeah.
And then when you look at the text even on the Pinball Effects version, it's much smaller. It's a little bit wispier. It's pretty much unreadable on
you can't really see
AtGames.
that at all.
Yeah, it's just bleh, mush. Okay,
Yep.
but
Yep.
all in all, it plays so much better now. The lag fix, they fix things. They 100% fixed the game. You look at this, it's not some wildly significant difference between these. And I'm going to...
We're not talking about like a far sight difference in quality between PC and mobile.
No.
Like there are minor textural differences, but apart from that...
And if I'm going to be playing with, again, surround sound feedback kit, that's going to make all the difference to me. And, I mean, that's it. Oh, I will also state, the Pinball Effects, it does have better physics.
Right, okay. It feels better.
It does. You're able to... Flipper tricks work better. Let's just put it to you that way. When I try and pass between flippers, I can do it much easier on Pinball Effects than AtGames. So something did get sacrificed in the programming of physics there, which I'm sure physics actually take up a lot of processing.
Compute.
Yes.
Yeah, they would take up a lot of compute. Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the one.
It feels like more? Does it feel more like FX3 than FX on AtGames, or do you think there is elements?
No, I'm going to go back to it feeling like FX2.
Oh, right, okay. So there is a definite difference.
There's a definite difference.
Yeah. Well, that does.
Not that the FX2 physics were terrible. They were pretty dang good. They're just not that super duper physics that Deep has gone and implemented.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to bring this up and show Demon's Tilt. Demon's Tilt. I also have
Xenotilt in this case,
Xenotilt, not Demon's Tilt.
Yeah, we know what you mean, though.
Yes. This is at 2K resolution for it, but it obviously has an 8-bit, or I don't know, not 8-bit, probably 16-bit
look to
16-bit look to it. Okay, that's its intent. Look at how jaggy that is. That's how it looks in the game. Okay, it's not.
I mean, that is the engine that they're using for this game, though. Like, it's designed to have that retro feel.
It's got that retro feel. Does it make it any less fun to play? No.
Oh, no, not in tape mode. This game is amazing in tape mode.
It's fantastic.
Like, I'm envious that you're being able to play this on a cabinet because, man, I'd be playing it all the time if I had a cabinet mode.
It looks so really good. It's a lot of fun. But that's my point. Which table looks better just at a glance? Look, Trek, and this is, like I said, the most egregious of the not that great of look compared to Xenotilt. Both of them are in 2K, but I'm not worried about the jaggies. I'm not worried about the larger pixels in Xenotilt. I'm worried about the gameplay and how smooth it plays. And believe me, you need smooth gameplay in Xenotilt. Oh my God, do you
ever? This is not a game that you can sacrifice your frame rate on.
Oh, jeez Louise. If you've never played Demon's Tilt or Xenotilt, when it goes full on shmups on you, and you cannot find the ball for the life of you because there is so much stuff flying about, you better believe that it's damn important that you're playing this at full frame rate. And
the highest frame rate that your equipment can output, because you need every single frame. Every single frame on this game.
So again, whether it's in 4K doesn't matter, because it truly is. This is in 2K, but no matter how many Ks you put back to it, it's not going to make the blocks look smoother. That's not how it was designed. It's not how it's how it's going to look.
I've played this both in 1080p and 2K, which is my standard resolution on my computer, and even in 1080p, I can really crank the frame rate on this. Like, I can get it like 120 FPS.
Okay.
And the difference between 120 and 60, that's where the money is on this table. Like, honestly, if you can, like, this was on older hardware, but now I can play it in 120 on 2K resolution, and it just looks phenomenal with everything cranked up to mind-tearingly, like, intense, and it still hangs in there. But when you had to make a sacrifice, you make the sacrifice in resolution and you bump the frame rate up. That is every single time what you do with pinball if you want a good experience. And it was like the difference was marked when you did that. It was like a completely different game when you played it.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that's a
frames win games.
That is. So I think that's as much as we can possibly say about that particular topic. Let's move on to the actual interview that we did. Yeah. We always like to comment afterwards on some of the things that piqued our interest, made us kind of go,
really jumped out.
You know, I know for me, the day and date, sometime in June, for tables dropping from both in Pinball Effects and onto the AtGames platform, that's huge.
That's great. Yeah. That they actually do, like, they treat AtGames as just another platform.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they do it with Switch, they do it with PS, they do it with all those. Why not AtGames?
Well, they kind of do it with Switch. Switch is still behind the ball on quite a few tables.
Sorry. Yeah, Switch is a little laggy because
but
Nintendo.
Maybe all these ports that they're doing for AtGames will actually have a benefit for Switch.
Or maybe. Because they usually have to hold it. Is it release? I don't know why they have to hold it for Nintendo. Is it just?
I think it's just porting it to the. Weird? No, it's not. I don't think it has anything to do with the window. I think it has to do with they having to make the port for it. Because again, Nintendo Switch, it ain't a PC. It's not a PS4 even. So
no, it's not. It actually is basically what I was playing on a tablet on Android about 8 years ago.
Right.
It was like it's a NVIDIA Tegra tablet with a few extra additions to it.
Which kind of moves me into the fact that we're going to have, what are we calling it? Zen Pinball World or something like that on mobile?
Yeah, that's what jumped out at me. Like they're running a closed beta at the moment, if you're not aware. Anyone can sign up to it. In fact, the more the merrier, because they really need performance data from as many different mobile platforms.
How would they do that, tablets.
Jared? So they go onto the there's a form that you fill out, and they announced that recently on socials. So you can go and sign up on the form, and they'll allow list your email address that you use on Google Play, and then that will allow you to download the beta because you're essentially permitted to do so. I have, as an aside, I have seen some people experiencing some difficulties with doing that. If you are experiencing that, go and hit up the team, and they should be able to unblock you. Although I think it comes down to the classic problem that Android's always had, where they have to sort of allow list all the devices that they're going to offer it on. If yours isn't on that list, you won't be able to install it. So,
okay.
But sign up, because it's incredibly valuable for them to see what the performance is across the different devices. And I know that they've just released an updated build for the mobile platform, like just a day or so ago at the time of recording. So I think the initial rounds of feedback were saying that definite lag problems on some devices, which was across the board, and I'm sure they were expecting it.
Yeah.
Because this is like a non-optimized first release, just see if it runs sort of build. So I think that's the next build they got probably addresses that. I haven't actually started it up yet because it's been nuts.
Yeah. But again, if they can get this worked out for mobile, that's only going to benefit Switch in the long run.
Yeah, I think so. And interestingly, like I have to assume, not knowing too much about this, so correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, but I have to assume that there's some sort of mobile build being run up for AtGames here. It feels like that they must be running on some sort of Android platform or something, because didn't they say in the interview that they had to retool to Linux?
Yeah, retool to Linux. That doesn't mean that they got away from Unreal, because Unreal actually can run on Linux.
Yes,
it's just Linux eliminates a lot of the headaches that you have to efficiency headaches that might be elsewhere. So
interestingly too, Android is a Linux-based operating system to an extent.
Okay.
So it uses the Linux kernel to like as its build. So interesting. So get on the beta because it's promising. That's for sure. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the thing that I think most stood out to me in terms of AtGames. Then
the
like
Dame Date release is going to be big.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, like I said, mobile coming. VR. What was your take there?
Yeah.
Jared?
So I remember, like as Mel was saying, they dropped a hint about this really early this year in a Pinball Bites episode that they were doing VR, and it was coming along. But it sounds like they're ready to go pretty much. Like next quarter, we're going to hear news about it. Apparently, according to my notes here, it's going to be January, February that we're going to have an announcement about it and get more an idea of the features. But one thing I think I can pretty much confirm, allegedly, is that we're going to have a VR pass-through mode in this. So the reason why I'm saying that is that Mel said that, yes, we're releasing on MetaQuest 3, and he goes, you know what the Quest 3 can do, quote unquote, in the interview. So I do know what the Quest 3 can do. One of its main selling features is its full color pass-through, which means that you can do lots of augmented reality stuff with it. So that suggests to me that we are going to have a pinball machine in your house, in your room, with a whole lot of theming around it. It just looks like it's going to be part of your lounge room, which is wild to think that they are going to let you do this. Like, I'm thinking, because like if you go into the MetaQuest 3 now, you can actually create like a pass-through virtual environment. So rather than having like the MetaQuest room and the environment, your room can actually have like artwork on the walls and objects in the room that you can like interact with and put things on virtually and stuff like that. So if they're leaning into that with pinball effects, this is going to be incredible. Like think of having your pin hall that you've got now, but in your house with posters on the wall and stuff, shelves. Like amazing.
Yeah, I reached out to my contact at AtGames, and I was just like, please, 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 somehow work with Zen so that we can use the AtGames as a controller for VR mode. Please.
Yeah.
And then if they did the overlay on top of the machine itself,
imagine putting the overlay on top of
That's what I'm saying. Geez. That would be great. I would love that.
Yes.
That would be amazing. Pinball M, there wasn't really anything wildly amazing other than the fact that he was saying that eventually there will be a Williams title or two in Pinball M, to which we're like... Me and Jared off the air were trying to figure out what machines would require that, because
M license.
Everything was general release to the public. It wasn't like when Sopranos came out, or what a lot of Stern titles now, where they have family friendly versus very unfamily friendly dialogue that comes out of machines.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And I mean, we've seen like our thoughts originally jumped to something like Elvira, right? Because it's risque and stuff. But in previous releases, they've all been like allowed without some of the more, the more adult mode speech turned on to an extent, like giving Elvira multiple jackpots, etc.
Yeah, but again, that's nothing that wasn't allowed on arcade
in the license.
That's right. It's just kind of. It's interesting to wonder what that might be that would fill that space.
So
but then the fact that he was saying that it doesn't have to be horror themed, although those are the number one requested things for Pinball M.
That's what everyone wants.
Yeah, so I did send a list to Mel of some titles that I think that would be excellent choices for to be in that space. I wish I had it lying around here because I would tell you what here we go. Some of the things that I had mentioned was Total Recall. I think a music table with Tenacious D would be fantastic.
Because he's really into pinball, Tenacious D. He loves it.
Jack Back loves pinball, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
If you want to do
That's
another,
really cool.
I was trying to think of another music table whose music would require Pinball M for a lot of things, but The Offspring. Now, if you're not familiar with The Offspring, think about Crazy Taxi. You know The Offspring.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so wouldn't that be a fun music table to do? But anyway, RoboCop. I think we need, again, after me and Jared looked at what the previous incarnation of RoboCop was, yes, please, do Pinball M RoboCop. Kill Bill
Oh, yeah.
would make an excellent Pinball M.
From a theme perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Die Hard, yes, please. Yippee-ki-yay multi-ball would be fantastic.
Any number, like they'd have to actually, but for that franchise, they would have to work out what they don't include in it, because there's so much you could put in from that franchise. They'd have to actually, the cutting floor would be absolutely, you'd be wading through stuff that you had to cut out of a pinball machine.
You know, if they worked with Sony, could we get a God of War pinball machine? That would be nice and bloody.
Oh yeah.
Akira, that was the one that we mentioned to Mel at the point. Some of the horror things that I would love to see, I think A Nightmare on Elm Street needs something other than that Gottlieb table.
Oh yeah, Freddy, yeah. That yeah.
Hellraiser, again, we've already got a cube in Theater of Magic. So just turn that into the Lamont configuration and then throw a Pinhead bash toy in there, and I mean, come on, it's in his name, Pinhead.
Yeah, it's right.
It's like screaming for a pinball table. I said it. I don't know what would be done with that, but clowns. Interestingly enough, Spooky Pinball just announced what I was gonna say, which was Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Now they didn't do. They're just doing Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. So Army of Darkness, the much more comedic film of the batch. Yeah, let's do that, Zen. Let's do Army of Darkness.
Because we've seen that with with the Princess Bride and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Like,
well, and Bruce Campbell did record all new audio for Spooky. Now, I've heard some of the audio. Sorry, Bruce, you kind of sound like you just took a paycheck on it. It's not very...
All right, phoned it in.
It kind of sounds phoned in. Truth be told, I was kind of disappointed when I heard the call-outs. But that being said, he still was willing to do it. So
good on him for that.
But no, so anyway, that was my take from Pinball M, was that, hey, maybe we can actually get some other titles out of that.
Yeah, I'll take all those.
Yeah. We moved on to, was there anything that struck you about just the content in general, the roadmap going forward? It sounds like we're going to have a very similar roadmap in 2025 to 2024, other than
tables.
Yeah, other than he said expect a lot more Williams.
Yeah, that's right. And now the Williams thing is interesting, because in our Williams discussion, we were talking about, how the big risk they took with Indiana Jones, and putting that at the price point of way more as a single table purchase. Like in Australian dollar terms, it was like, I think $15 down here.
It was $15 here too, but it was basically $5 more than we normally would have expected.
Yeah, apparently that risk has paid off, and they have a lot of very positive sales data to back up that model works if there is an expensive license out there. And he said with on the Williams front with Terminator 2, you got to pay Arnie. And it was interesting. I recall the Kickstarter for Farsight, when they had to raise the funds for Terminator 2, and I thought, you know what, I bet you that's still up on the internet. So it is.
I can't believe it's still there. The internet's forever.
I can't believe it is either, but it is. And so this was back in ages ago, right?
Yeah.
This is August 2013, so this would have been like kickstarted in
1 year after
money.
1 year after Pinball Arcade existed. Yeah.
Yeah. So they say, in their, as far as the Kickstarter goes, they were raising money not for the development of the table, but for the licenses. So when we're talking about Terminator 2, I'm going to read it directly from their Kickstarter page. So here's where you come in. The licenses for Terminator 2 Judgment Day will cost $66,000, and that's just for the licenses. we'll cover all of the development expenses ourselves. So that is the cost. Now, up a little higher, they've told you what they had to negotiate to get that, and you could probably translate that to an interesting exercise on what Zen probably has to do every time they're doing this as well. But they said we've succeeded in negotiating all of the licenses we need to digitize Terminator 2 and bring it to Pinball Arcade. Unfortunately, there are several licenses involved. In addition to the Williams license, we need a license for the Terminator 2 property, the actor likenesses of the Terminator, which is Arnold. So that's nice, and that's on both the backglass and the playfield, and also the right to use the actor voiceovers during gameplay. So those things added up are that $66,000.
Well, that's what they advertise. And then there was the
Yeah.
conversation that I remember having with Bobby up there at Farsight, who basically said that Arnold's fee, flat fee, was, I believe, 60 grand.
Yeah, right.
So that's a one-time fee that gets paid to that. And then for each table sale, a slice of the pie gets given to the license rights that happen. So now that was, again, 10 years, almost 12 years ago. That's 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So if Zen is paying today's prices, I'm sure Arnold's rate has gone up a little bit.
A lot more. But
or more.
Going back to the possibilities that, the facts again of sales being positively strong with something like Indiana Jones, and people seeing the value in that and going, yeah, I'll pay that. And the other interesting thing with Indiana Jones is that I remember an episode where Mel announced at the time bad news that it was going to be more expensive, and was trying to moderate the community expectation about that. He was saying this table will never go on discount. Yet we have now seen that the table has been offered on discount a number of times. So,
which means they reached profitability.
That's correct. They have reached the tipping point with this sale. So that's a lot. That's a lot of extra $5 that they've had to cover to get to that point. So you can kind of infer how many of these units have shifted.
There is a lot of people that, and we've how many times have we had this conversation, Jared, where people are like, I don't care, I'll spend $30 for the table. Again, it's about finding that tipping point of at what point do you alienate the majority of your audience for the few that are willing to pay that point. And even though they're willing to pay that point, there's not enough of them at that price point purchasing to
make it commercially viable.
Exactly. So you have to find a lower price point. And I think Zen has been very smart in only so far having one table at that price point, so that we know if they ever do it again, that it's, hey, we know you guys proved that you're willing to pay it once, but we're not going to just make you pay that all the time. Instead, we're going to hold that for if we ever need to do it again, so that you understand, hey, we're going to make you dive deeper into the pocket this time, but you understand that what you get is going to be produced up on screen. You're going to get it. So,
that was really interesting.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. By the way,
oh yeah, you were going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, Bonsai Run has been announced as the second table for that Williams Volume 8 pack. So now Earthshaker,
Bonsai,
and Bonsai, which I believe that now is all of Pat Lawler's tables.
Probably. I don't know.
Believe.
I'd have to count up.
I believe that's all of his for Williams. Anyhow,
still a lot.
This made the question that we asked Mel about the backglass quite relevant. Because I know how it works in pinball effects. It's the exact same way that it worked with paranormal. It just shifts. The way they shift it in, I had video shared of the beta of it shifting up to the playfield, and it actually looks pretty cool. I like what they did with that. But this again brings me back to when this comes out on AtGames, I want that upper monitor to be used. I don't want it to be me playing
static.
Well, yeah, and I don't want me to be playing on the flat playfield. I want to be playing on that vertical monitor. So will Zen figure that out or not? I don't. I don't know. I don't have faith that they will. I don't
think they will.
I don't think they will.
The only way they can do it and maintain frame rate up there, because the thing is, the ball moves so much faster on the table up there,
Yeah.
and the physics model is, well, different up there. So,
it is only I
way,
believe it is only a 1080 screen.
Yeah, right. So that might help.
That might help.
I mean, they would probably have to like kind of pause the gameplay on the lower playfield and then activate the gameplay on the back box screen to maintain frame rate with the chipset they got. But that's my speculation on it, how they would do it.
And I mean, I'd be fine with that. That doesn't bother me.
As long as the switchover when the ball returns down to the bottom playfield, which happens very quickly on that game, that switchover and reactivation of the lower playfield would have to be milliseconds.
Yeah.
Because that's what it takes for that ball to get down the playfield sometimes.
But it's just for I mean, that is what is unique about that table. And so I feel like a unique solution needs to be implemented for AtGames. Because I know they're not going to implement it for Pinball FX again. They're not doing surround sound feedback in Pinball FX, which was again another disappointing thing. It drives me nuts that they're not doing that. As far as I know, VPX10 can utilize that. I don't know why it's just not on Zen's priority list. Same reason why it's not the backglass is not on Zen's priority list. As many times as they want to tell us that it's licensors want to charge extra money for the backglass and stuff. Yes, maybe for your Zen originals, but that's not going to be the case for a Williams package. I really want to play true, and the fact that when you play the Zaccaria tables that you do actually get the scores up on the backglass animating and moving, that's where I'm just like, hey, it's very possible. You just have to have the desire to do it. So will they ever have the desire to do it? I don't know.
Time will tell when it comes out, but it will be very interesting to see when it comes out how they manage it.
Yeah.
That's really. Oh, the other thing was Pinball Royale is officially dead and buried. However, a concept for multiplayer is in the works, and it will come out in 2025.
Which PK at AtGames also said that a concept for multiplayer is in the works on their end, that they have it actually working. It does require you being online.
Right.
So obviously. I have a feeling it's streaming back and forth. When you're not playing, it also is going to import the streaming from the person that is playing, and you can watch their gameplay for their ball, and then when it comes to your ball, boom, you kick in and activate again on your end.
If that's how it's going to work, that's going to be amazing.
Even
if it's a bit stuttery and a little bit choppy,
yes,
that's still going to be amazing.
Yes. Now, could they make it work? Oh, God. Mel saying that he tried for NBA Fast Break kills me. I almost rather would not know that he tried. Because that means it's on their radar and they want to make it happen. Hopefully, it's still.
It sounds like they got close.
Which
that's the thing.
They managed it with FIFA and World Cup. I think that something.
And that was one that was speculated
beast.
To be really hard to get.
Yeah. So, but again, if you could get me not only I'd be pleased as punch. If you can get me NBA Fast Break, the only one that I'm like harping on getting after that is literally roller games. But if you can get me NBA Fast Break and then you bring in the multiplayer aspect, oh my God, if you can get me Link Machines, come on, that'd be sweet.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So. That is, having played that once, amazing. Mm-hmm. The only way you should play that game is linked. Yeah. It is incredible to play.
All right, we have blathered on plenty long enough.
It's a long episode.
Yeah,
but that is often the case when we're reflecting on stuff, and also the AtGames stuff took ages.
Yeah. So sorry, folks.
Whatever.
It had to be said. But that being the tale, we are now dipping into the holiday season. So,
Yes.
realistically, I think we have one more in us for the year.
Probably before we all have to go and have a break over the Christmas period, because there's not really going to be very much news happening.
No.
So,
But of course, if
we might be
anything
able to
does,
do a bit on Williams, maybe.
Yeah.
Over the holidays, maybe.
Yeah, I think once that announcement for that third table comes out, we'll have things to say regarding that. I know that the Charlie Brown Christmas is coming out for AtGames at the beginning of December, so I'll be able to comment on that. And who knows what else is going on other than everything that Jared likes talking about the most.
Stuff and things. Lots of stuff and things.
Right? So until then, folks, again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.